up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be working on this 350Z. We will be installing new coilovers, lower ball joints, and outer tie rod ends, and we will be performing a track spec alignment. So without further ado, let's get right to it.
Now this is before the suspension install. So car drives good, straight, smooth. Only thing I do here is some creaking, which I don't like, but that was already there before we worked on the car. So as you can see, I'll just take a couple. You hear things rummaging in the back. Just trying to get a feel for the suspension, make sure there's no clunking and things like that before we take the suspension apart. So far so good, just hear a little bit of creaking. I don't know if the camera can pick up that creaking, but it sounds like it's in the front right corner. But the car feels good, so. Now we're going to head back to base. Well, I guess we got to turn around. Alright, so you can see this tie rod looks all nasty. The boot's all nice and torn, so that's why we're replacing it. And before we remove anything, we need to loosen this bolt, or this nut right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So make sure it's nice and loose. So now when we take this off, we don't gotta deal with this. So first thing we're gonna do is remove the cotter pin from the tie rod. Alright, so we're gonna let this soak in PB Blaster. Alright, so then next you want to take off the nuts to make this sway bar loose. So we're gonna already hit it off on the other side, but get the washer, take the washer out, and this should be able to just poke right through. Now to take this tie rod end nut off, you're gonna have to hit it with a 19 mil. Now you don't want to take it all the way off, you want to kind of leave it on there so we can use the tool to remove it from the knuckle. Alright, so we got our ball joint remover tool in place, and we're gonna go ahead and hit the bottom part with a 19 mil so it can separate from the nut. Go. See that? Popped right off. That's always so satisfying to hear that thing pop like that. Alright, now we can go ahead and take the rest of this nut off. Alright, and the ball joint, the tie rod should be able to drop right on down since we already popped it loose. Now we can swivel this thing in and out of the way so we can access our ball joint. Alright, so next we're going to take off the bottom of this coilover piece. So this nut and this bolt's going to come off. So we're able to allow this to swing down so we can have access to this to drop this knuckle out. Alright, so next you're going to grab the 17 mil boxed in wrench, and then you're going to take your 17 socket and you're gonna break that loose, and then you're gonna pretty much take this bolt out so that way the top of the coilover is able to come completely off. All right, so we're just gonna hit this bolt right here with the hammer just to knock it through. Should be able to come right out. All right, it's out. So we're gonna take this cotter pin out. All right, so now we're gonna hit this ball joint nut with a 22 mil. All right, let's see, pretty much hand loose now. So now I'm gonna spray some PB Blaster in here, just to give it some lubrication, so when we press it out, it's not too hard to press out. Let that soak in there for a little bit. Now I like to take a brass hammer and just tap it a little bit, not too hard, but just enough just to break up some rust and things in there. So you just want to give it some light taps wherever you kind of can, and make sure you use a brass hammer, because you don't want to use a cast iron hammer or whatever other material metal they use, but you want to use something soft so it doesn't damage this control arm or the spindle, because it's made out of aluminum. And the key here is just to slightly tap. We're not trying to make the ball joint drop out, we're just trying to break up some rust in there. All right, so now we're just gonna take the nut off, put it to the side. So now we're gonna grab our pole jack, and we're just gonna put it right up under the control arm, just so we can push the control arm up and out of the way of the ball joint. The ball joint, it should drop down as we're pushing up the control arm. So there we go. So as you can see, some of the PB Blaster that we sprayed in there, it kind of did the trick where you can see it coming out. And now this is coming up nice and easy. So we just want to raise it up just enough. And when you do this, be super careful, because you don't want to raise it up too high to where it raises the car off of the rack. So you gotta really be super cautious. You always gotta watch the rack and make sure the car isn't lifting up off of the rack, because it can get super dangerous. We're pretty much compressing the spring that's up there, but we just want to get it just enough to get this up and out of the way for the knuckle to get out of the way, so we can work on pressing this out. So let's try to pull this down. Okay, so we can pull this down a little bit and swivel it out of the way. Perfect. Now we're just gonna go ahead and lower this back down, and our knuckle is out of our way. And there, we are not compressing the spring at all, and the car is still safely on the hoist. You can see how worn this ball joint is. It's all torn, so luckily we're replacing it. Now let's get to it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut through this, because this sleeve does not want to come off. And this sleeve is not an issue. It goes into this control arm, but our ball joint came with a new sleeve, so we don't need to worry about taking this off for now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this. Okay, there's multiple ways you can do this, but this is the way that's easiest for me, since I don't have to try to press this off or pull this off. I don't have a puller right now. But you can do whatever the way you want to do it. This is just the way that I did it. So now, I'll try to pull this off. It's trash anyway, so might as well. Let's cut this piece off, cut the end. There we go. All right, that's it for that. All right, now we can go ahead. Wait, let's get this off. All right, now we can go ahead and use our press kit. So I got this press kit from AutoZone, and I've already started using it to do the other side, but just to show you, you could rent this master ball joint installer remover adapter set, as well as the ball joint press set. Now you can rent this from AutoZone. Cost me about, I think, $300 and some change. But the cool thing is they have a deposit system to where once you return it, you get all your money back. All right, so you're gonna have to play around with some pieces to find out the right way to do this. So you're gonna put this guy here. All right, so I'm gonna have to put this piece here, but see how this control arm is in the way? Now we need to spin this back down. So what we're gonna do is loosen this nut on this side and this bolt. That way it'll give it some angle to spin down. So all right, so you're gonna use a 19mm socket, and where's my 19 wrench? There it is. Use a 19mm wrench to hold that side, and you're gonna break it loose. And the key here is to just make it loose so this thing swivels down out of the way. Oh, looks like you gotta use the bigger gun. There's a 3/8 gun. Isn't strong enough, so let's use the 1/2 inch. All right. There's my 1/2 inch 19 right here. All right, let's try this again. Wow, easy money right there. Gotta use the big boy gun. This isn't even the big boy gun. The big boy guns are like the 3/4, 3/4 inch. Oh! Do not lose this. This came flying out of the control arm. Make sure that guy stays in there like that. All right, now we've got clear working space to press this ball joint out. So let's get to it. First, before we try any of that stuff, there is a clamp right here that we got to remove. So we're gonna remove that. There we go. Our snap ring pliers. Move that snap ring, set it to the side. Alright, so we're gonna use this piece right here to go on the top of that. That seats like that. And then we're gonna take this guy, have it rest into there, and now you can spin this up to apply some pressure so we can push this ball joint right out of this knuckle. All right, let's make sure we're nice and centered. All right, everything looks centered. All right, looks good. So now we're gonna attempt, let's see if we can use, now this is a 19mm, I believe, or no, this is like a 20, what size is this? 21? Nope, so it must be 22. So, .22 it is. All right, So now we're gonna try to press this up on and out of here. Kind of hold this. Use the other hand to do that. All right, so we're getting there. We got a little bit of a bigger gap. This is almost pushed up through there. So we're just gonna keep working at it. I like to take it off, look at it, check, just to make sure we're coming out evenly or whatnot. So we'll just continue to keep doing that process over and over until it pops out. All right, so that ball joint is pressed out. Here's the old one. It's all nice and worn. So we're getting ready to put the new one in. All right, so let's go ahead and clean all that nasty grease out of there and get it ready to press in the new ball joint. All right, so it's nice and clean. All right, knuckle looks good. All right, so nice and ready for the new ball joint. All right, so we got our new ball joint right here ready. Let me close this down a little bit. Sun's burning my legs. All right, there we go, much better. All right, so we got our new ball joint ready to go in, but we need to make sure that we have the right press. This is the closest that we can get. I don't like how it's a little bit off, as you guys can see. So you just got to be real careful when you're pressing this in. That way it doesn't slip and then start slipping off. So just be careful. Before we put them in, I like to kind of lubricate this up just a little bit with some PB Blaster. So that way it can kind of slide in there pretty smooth. All right, let's go ahead and pop this in. All right, sits in there nice and even. So we can get this, put this guy on. Like, this is cool. It has a little access port, so you can kind of see like how far you are, I guess. I don't know what this access little port is, but it works in my favor right now. So one of the pieces that you're gonna need is this guy right here. So you can, because this protrudes out just a little bit, so you need that extra space right there to go where your press tool is, like so. I think like, let's set this up. So we wanna press this side down. So luckily, put this down, spin this. All right, so that goes in there like that. And then we gotta get our other piece. Okay, oh, you see how it slips off like that? Gotta be careful. All right, let's see if we can slip this in there. All right, now let's just make sure we're fully seated on that. Oops. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so it looks good. So make sure we're in there. Everywhere is seated. Right, and then we're just gonna start pressing away. So I believe this was a 22, right? It's a 22. So what I'm gonna do is lower the rack, so that way I'm not up there with my arms like that. That should be good right there. Rest it on the locks. All right. Now, oh, okay, this is a little bit better angle. So now, make sure we're seated. And now I'm gonna get the gun. Put it up. I'm gonna use a swivel with this because no clearance for me to fit the gun in the wheel well. So now I've got it onto a swivel. And let's see how this is gonna work. Oof. I guess I'll go at this angle. There we go. All right, so let's get to work. There we go. I don't know if you can see, but as I'm doing this, the ball joint is pressing down. So we're just gonna continue to do that until it's fully seated. All right, so now we've got our ball joint fully seated and we're about to put that snap ring back on. That goes right there. All right, so let's grab our snap ring pliers. Just try to see if I can do this with one hand while I'm holding the camera in the other hand. All right, there we go, we got it. All right, now let's try to slide this thing on. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to put the camera down. Oh, there we go, got it in. All right, so we're seated in there. And then let's start putting all this stuff back together, but pretty much reversal of removal. So let's get to it. All right, so since we're pretty much all dismantled down here from doing the ball joints, and we're gonna be replacing these tie rods too. This coilover is pretty much almost out. So we've got 3 bolts from the top that I'm gonna take off. And as soon as I take off those 3 bolts, literally it's just gonna drop down and I'm gonna replace it, so. All right, so the top of the coilovers are right here. And of course, as you can see, there's 2 bolts to the right. And where's the 3rd bolt? Blah. Where is the 3rd bolt? Yes, right under this freaking strut bar. All right, so we pretty much got to remove this strut bar. Same thing on this side too, to access the 3rd bolt so we can go ahead and drop that suspension down. And of course, you can't just take the bolts off. They've got connectors and clips to this thing, so just more added stuff to take in account for. It's not bad, but I just get tired of taking off a bunch of parts just to get to another part. Nissan always likes to do this, as well as other brands too, but you know. All right, bolts are off. Let's lift this thing up and out. There we go. Now we have access to those 3 bolts, so I can hit those 3 nuts, and then the suspension will be able to drop right up and out. We'll put it in, and all right, so here's how I like to do this. This is the last nut. I like to go ahead and loosen it, but not all the way. So about to right there. As you can see, it's kind of flush. So now I'm gonna grab it with one hand down here. And then I'm gonna loosen it with the other. And then the coilover will come right up and out. Let's see. Now it's ready to come out. All right, so there we go.